Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins. Thanks for joining me, guys. You've probably heard it through the airwaves. You've probably even heard it on your mainstream media, whatever news. You've probably heard it at work. Or if you're living in the province of Alberta, WEXIT is on a lot of Albertans' minds. And why? Well, you see this huge divide of almost 2,000, maybe 1,800, 2,000 kilometers of no Liberal leadership in the middle of Canada. And then in the West, the entire West is completely sold out anyway to foreign investing. So that's why you did not see a conservative win on that end at the end of BC. But after that, into the once you get into the BC interior, all the way pretty much up into Winnipeg, it's pretty much a sea of blue that took over. Now, who supports an independent Alberta? Well, majority of Albertans support an independent Alberta. They have the resources, the minerals, the manpower, the unemployed to get reemployed. Because of all the bureaucracy and red tape, Alberta could make deals with countries like the United States of America and even maybe grease a little wheels in British Columbia to get a proper pipeline through to the coast to get some of that crude exported. I'm pretty sure there's ways that Alberta could be a sufficient independent country. But would the Queen allow it? What about the Crown land? What happens? How did Alberta get indoctrinated into provincialhood? Well, I could tell you guys from my experience studying the Republic of Texas. What? It's Texas, Mike. It's not the Republic. No, it's the Republic of Texas back in the day. And what happened? Well, the first president was Sam Houston, was the first president of the Republic of Texas. It had a different flag. It had a Lone Star flag because it's the one very state that could leave the Union at any time. It's in the Republic of Texas Constitution. Now, I'm pretty sure you heard all the stories at the Alamo with Davy Crockett and the Bayou guy and all those guys. Basically, Remington, I think it was. I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure you guys heard all those stories that basically after the massive slaughter of the Alamo, there was a huge, I guess, when they needed, basically they went in there after for revenge against Santa Anna and the Mexican armies. Now, okay, let's call a spade a spade. Could Alberta do it? It technically, if you were to do it democratically, yes. Tomorrow they could do it. Would democracy allow... Is democracy real? Would the East, Ottawa, allow Alberta to leave? Right? See, it's a little bit different with the state of Texas, because when it took statehood, it basically allowed itself to leave. That's why it's the Lone Star State. It could leave at any time. It chooses to. And Texas already has been thinking of secession many times during the Obama administration. Things have cooled down since the Trump administration, but it was a huge, huge exit of Texas. Now, can Alberta do it? That is the question. Crown land. You got all these things. Now, what's to say that Ottawa is going to say later on that, well, you're going to have exit fees to pay, and your province is broke and you can't afford to pay exit fees. Well, why is the province broke in the first place? That's the next question. Well, we know why. And I'm not going to get to the political underlying things. A lot of people already know what's been happening in the province of Alberta. When the province of Alberta took provincialhood, I think it has its own constitution, if I'm not incorrect or correct. So let's look at what this here from CTV News here. Let's see what they have to say here, okay?
In a deep blue wave that swept western Canada.
Blue wave. We were saying that. during the live elections.
This map puts the east-west divide.
Look at that. That's like two right here, from right here to here. That's almost 1,800, maybe 2,000 kilometers. Right here, this part of Canada completely, the whole lower mainland here, and this part of Canada completely sold out. It's completely sold out.
Into perspective. From Winnipeg to Vancouver, there isn't a single Liberal MP for 2,300.
Oh, 2,300. Okay, so there isn't. Oh, Christ, there isn't. But I know Strathcona, Edmonton went NDP up here. We had a guest on the show that night that told us that.
100 kilometers. The political fault lines are widening the debate over Western separation. Here's CTV's Alberta Bureau Chief Janet Dirks with a political movement called WEXIT.
The billboard's message is clear, stating, "I support an independent Alberta."
It's the cry of our heart to see the birth of the Republic of Western Canada, for sure.
The founder of WEXIT says his group is serious.
We need to separate from what we call confederation to start taking care of our own affairs.
WEXIT wants to become a national party to represent Alberta, Saskatchewan.
Would they allow it to be a national party? And if they do, would the news even acknowledge their existence? Well, you know what WEXIT's going to do? Well, immigration, done. This, done. This, kaput. Let's get Canadians back to work. Let's do this. Let's get that. Oh, the BC mine up north, no Canadian hires. Chinese-owned mine in northern BC, no Canadian hires for 4 years. Must be fluent in Mandarin to work there. Goodbye.
Manitoba and parts of BC, an idea that's starting to resonate with this Albertan.
At this point, with Trudeau winning once again, I'm not against it, because without Alberta, Ontario, Quebec would be toast anyway. We give them so much of our money.
Her friend is also frustrated, but is not in favor of separating.
I just think our Prime Minister needs to get his together, and we need to work as a country as a whole.
That anxiety is driven by pipelines not being built, tens of thousands of jobs being lost in the energy sector.
Yeah, energy sector, not just the energy sector, guys. It's a lot more than that. There's a lot more underlying things happening. Sellouts to foreign countries.
Sector. Just today, Husky laid off hundreds of workers in Calgary. In Saskatchewan, Premier Scott Moe is calling for a new deal from Ottawa, including updating the equalization formula.
There's a fire burning in the prairie provinces here, and what I am doing is offering the Prime Minister a fire extinguisher.
Like Moe, Alberta's premier is not a separatist, yet Jason Kenney says he's heard even moderate Conservatives discussing the idea.
All they do have to do is form a party, if they allow them to. Right? Canada purposely allowed the PPC to get in so they could get obliterated at the polls to show people, the rest of the world, that Canada's not right-leaning. But everybody I know voted PPC, so it's kind of weird. It's kind of the hill dog syndrome, where I'll get into that another time.
I'm not going to let Trudeau push me out of my country. We've got allies across the country, and we're not going to get 1 inch closer to a pipeline by closing in on ourselves as a landlocked jurisdiction.
Already there's merchandise, hats and stickers, but this political scientist says the threat is just not realistic.
The concerns that Albertans have will not be solved by separation. We're not going to get our oil to markets any better if we're not part of Canada.
No, we could actually have better oil. We could start, no. Believe me, the smaller, the better, the easy to govern. Yes, this lady's bought and paid for. You could tell. Look at her. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. So, Separatists. Talk renews in Alberta following Justin Trudeau Liberal victory. Again, a lot of people discussing an exit, and it's Alberta is this. Look at this. Look at all of Central Canada here. Look at this. They'll win it in a landslide if they created a party, just like Brexit. But look at the courts, the this, the that, the exit fees, the this, the back and forthness. It's really tough, guys. It's really hard to sustain. It's really hard to it's a great idea on paper. I think it's a phenomenal idea to implement, to create a little difference, right? Difference is always good. Going different is good, right? Isn't this what the left is preaching? Being different is good. Being different is this. You're hurting our feelings. All the West needs to start saying is, you're hurting our feelings. We want to be independent. Can you stop it? I can't handle this anymore. You're hurting my feelings. The West needs independence, right? For policing, because a lot, from what I've been hearing in the city of Vancouver, a lot of people are getting away with pretty much murder and attempted murder there, and they're out in 2 hours, an hour. And the police in Western Canada, in a lot of cities, are acting like judge now, saying, well, somebody could have borrowed his clothes and come back and robbed the place. But you see it on the camera, the guy come back, well, the problem is somebody could have borrowed the guy's clothes and come back and rob the place. That's the police's answer to not pressing charges. I'm not going to get into that right now, but so this is it. Post haste. How to avoid a Wexit? Appoint a natural resources minister who can engage with the West. Natural resources, global warming. Carbon credits. Garbage. Garbage. Western alienation is palpable after Canadians mostly voted for parties that were at odds with Alberta and Saskatchewan's worldview, especially on climate change. That's it. Alberta needs to get in a puppet to basically go ahead and agree with climate change. But in the late turn of the 19th century, in the 1890s, a lot of people are forgetting this because there's no one alive to talk about it. In the late 1890s, they were discussing climate change and that whole thing in the 1890s. And a lot of farmers protested and said, if you're going to start charging us carbon credits or whatever at the time they called it in the 1890s because of our cows' manure, guess what? We're going to stop farming. And that just shut it down real quick in a heartbeat. So basically, if you could get somebody in Alberta but that's not going to happen. It's always going to remain conservative. So you have a country divided. It's not about unified big countries. We live in the technology era. We live in the information age. This is not only just because of oil and money. Then Western Canada can be more innovative when it comes to medicine. Start kicking out the pharmaceutical companies and start actually making and creating science and technology laboratories to start finding cures for certain crap that we've had for years that should have been cured years ago. Then Western Canada could be the pillar of what Canada is, or what Canada was back in the 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? WEXIT. Bots boost Alberta separatist movement, Twitter data shows.
Now, the Liberal victory has fueled more talk of Western separatism.
Yeah.
The word WEXIT was trending on social media during and after the election results came in. As Dan Grummett reports, it's more than just a hashtag.
They launched at midnight in anticipation of a Liberal win. Digital ads calling on people to join an independent cause.
Yep. We need to separate.
Yeah, we already saw this. Basically, it's something that needs to be taken care of. I want to see if this guy's a pretty big guy. I don't think he's going to care, but I would like to get him on my show on Mike in the Night live and ask him, I could, but there's 170,000 members. I don't think he cares. If anybody knows this man in Alberta, I know people watching me in Alberta. If they know this man, I would love to have him on the show on Mike in the Night, and just to get him to discuss WEXIT. We could go over historical events of other secession plans that were in place. I think it was California tried to exit at one point too, and I think it was I can't remember if it was California when it was booming, and it was sick of supporting the rest of America. But now it turned to the left, and now everyone's leaving California. So Liberal win stokes talk of separation in Alberta. Alberta first, Liberals last. Arrest Trudeau for treason. Yeah, well, high treason. He's committed high treason several times against his countrymen. But that's just the way politics. No party wins on principles anymore. Parties win on who could lie the best. That's what it's all about. That's why they threw the PPC in there, because they lost on principle. They lost the election on being honest. The day after the re-election of the federal Liberals and near-conservative sweep in Alberta and Saskatchewan, feelings of a frustration in Western Canada were fueling talk of separation. The Vote WEXIT Facebook page, with its motto, "The West Wants Out," went from 2,000 or so members on Monday to 170,000 and counting by late Tuesday afternoon. I just hope that page doesn't get taken down for bullying or something like that. But you just have to say, my feelings are hurt in Alberta and I want to separate. And that's it. Just start playing the feelings card. Everyone's playing the race card. Might as well just throw the feelings card in there, saying, well, my feelings are hurt. I can't handle this. I need medication and I need social support because, we went from two. So there you go. Downing said his group was pushing for Premier Jason Kenney to call a referendum on whether Alberta should separate from Canada. The idea of Canada has died in the hearts of many. The idea of Canada was good because of threats of war from the United States during the time of Andrew Jackson, which he succeeded on that parallel there and took old Vancouver from us. Old Vancouver used to be part of Canada. It used to dip down, and Andrew Jackson took that from the Canadians. So it was a good idea at the time because Canada was very undermanned, underpowered. So they needed to create some sort of truce, right? And I think it was called the Dominion of Canada, and I think the United States, was still called the Confederate States of America. I think it was. But anyways, I'm not going to go into huge history here, but here it is. Mount Royal University professor David Taras called the feelings of anger and frustration very real and very understandable. Taras sees Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as having a few options following Monday's election results, other than appointing someone to the Senate who has the support in Alberta, than having that person serve in cabinet. So basically, they want to put in, right here, where was it? It's not here. I got rid of it. Basically, a climate change expert to run Alberta, so the Ontarians, Ottawans, could be more sympathetic to the West. You know what? Those days of big countries and military virtue and military conquest is over. Those days of vast borders and stuff is over. Western Canada can save money by protecting its own borders, by basically creating a self-sustained infrastructure. We have the land, the manpower, the unemployed to do it. And just start taking care of business, right? So, Eastern Canada deported Ontario. I lived in Ontario. They deported tens of thousands of Portuguese citizens, Portuguese people living in Ontario that owned their houses and lived in Canada for many years. They did a mass deportation of 30,000 of my people. They would call the children in the school that spoke Portuguese in the high schools to come down to the gymnasium and call their parents in to bring in paperwork. I've made videos about this before. Do you know why they haven't been taken down? Because I'm not lying about it. Because it's true. Mass purging of Portuguese families out of Canada. So if Western Canada wants to do the same and start cleaning up some of the bad element in the... Portuguese weren't bad. They were workers, construction workers and laborers, right? But if Western Canada wants to... Hey, Eastern Canada did it too. We could clean up all the money laundering, the corruption. We could start repossessing the homes. 1 in 3 homes are empty in all these different provinces owned by foreign investors that don't give a damn about Canada and don't care about the idea of Canada. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We'll go severely off topic here. WEXIT. Is it going to work? They're having a tough time with Brexit, even though they're you know what I'm saying? They're trying to push for something, but they're just going to create a party. Just like that gentleman there over in the UK created that part. Oh my God. Yeah. So we created UKIP, the UKIP movement, right? So they're going to try and do it here, and they will gain power. It will be a very big move, and conservatives are going to have to start fearing that, a WEXIT political group, right? Would Canada allow it? Ottawa won't allow it. Period. I don't think Ottawa cares, right? See, Ottawa doesn't care. Western separatism movement gains traction. Ottawa, you know, we're under the yoke of the crown. There's too much happening. Would I want to see this happen? Yes, because it's just better in the long term. It really is better. Would they allow it? Ottawa won't, right? So, let me know what you guys think. Look at Catalonia. I've been covering it on my channel. Catalonia. Look at Catalonia. They've been trying to get out of Spain. Catalonia is in southeast. This is from 4 hours ago, 5 days ago, 3 days ago. This is a non-stop movement in Spain where they want basically, and there's tens of thousands, there's like millions of people on the streets. Like, this is nothing. You should see how big these protests amass in Catalonia, where the voting went 94% in favor of an exit of Spain. And then Obama jumped in and said, no, we need Spain as a whole because it's easier to control a unified country. It's easier to corrupt a unified country. Once you have breaks, it's harder to corrupt a broken country because people won't stand. Oh, there's so much. It just goes on and on with Catalonia. So people living in Alberta, take a look at Catalonia and how Europe is supposed to be this big democracy. Look, pause Brexit legislation right here. It doesn't.
Mr. Speaker, I must express my disappointment.
People want to want their own. People have a voice. Would they allow it? That's the question. Is democracy real? Well, 50 years ago, they said, go ahead and vote and see what happens, right? They tried it with Quebec, with the Quebec exit movement, right? With the Quebecois. Remember that, guys? Back in the 90s, when Quebec wanted to separate from Canada, they lost by 0.5%, and it remained in Canada. They ain't going to try that again. No, they ain't going to try that because it's easy to corrupt and manipulate federally a unified country. It's just the easiest way to do it. Or govern at the higher levels. But at the provincial levels, we suffer. And the municipal levels, we suffer even more. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you're in Alberta, get this video out there. I really appreciate it. And thanks for watching.